Hello, YouTube. We are 2 games into day 2 of the 2023 Scrabble Players Championship in Las Vegas. And boy, it's been a stressful 9 games, honestly, thus far. And I was happy that I just was keeping on winning, but at the same time, I knew that if I'd had a couple of losses, my chances of doing well in the tournament were slowly going to evaporate, given how low my point spread was at this point. 7-2, you should probably have something like 600 spread at a minimum to have like decent spread. But yeah, I was stuck at plus 20. I was like, so what's gonna happen? Like, am I gonna get a break? Am I gonna lose games? Am I gonna start winning games by enough to maybe contend with other people at the top? So at this point, sat down to play Ed de Guzman. Uh, Good friend of mine. I love Ed. Ed is like such a great guy. However, the year prior to this, at the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship, he beat me twice, and it was very, very devastating. So, although I love Ed, I was very much ready to fight and try and exact some sort of revenge from last year. Um, and yeah, Ed was to move first, and he made the play of Dato for 10. And in this position, I thought for a while and really just wanted to play the move that I made, Beanie. But the thing about this move is it really has some weaknesses, such as in the game with Mike Barron just opening underlaps that I might not want to have available for Ed, and I could probably do a bit better with a play like Nabe for 19. Just keeping EIR. It's not great. It's kind of ugly. I'm not even setting myself up underneath. But this play actually is the preferred play by the engine. I'm surprised that uh, the play up here actually setting up the ER isn't a better play. In any case, everything's very, very close in these positions, but maybe I shouldn't have made it a little bit easier for Ed by playing Beanie. But lucky for me, he didn't have an X or something humongous. He plays Jibed, and I draw extremely well here. I think I play my first 9-letter word of the tournament. It's a pretty one. So if you want to pause the video and look for it, obviously there are only a few spots you can play the 9-letter word through one of these pairs of tiles. Um, so yeah, if you found that, congratulations. Yeah, Lanthorns is the bingo. There's also some 7-letter words that are available, but yeah, 9-letter word for 86 seemed pretty good. So Lanthorns comes down, and Ed takes a while and plays Ohia, so struggling with some vowels, and I draw extremely well here. And I'm just like, oh, thank God, like I'm finally getting a break. Like I'm just winning this game for sure. So I thought, up by 153 points. Ed comes back with Kintar, he draws the Q. And in this position, I am up by over 100, but I mean, all is not lost for Ed. There are still ways for him to get back in the game, namely, bingo down the K column, maybe some form of trying to open the board up here, um, maybe this, something like this. So there are options for him to like breathe life into the board, but obviously this position was very crushing. I ended up playing Azure, but it's possible that this was a bit too dangerous. I should have done something like Cowrie. I did not see this word, Cowrie. The one thing that I considered in this position was, am I really crazy enough to play Azo for 41, which scores tremendously, but just like, why would I open this up for nothing? I mean, not for nothing, it's for 41 points, but it's also, I'm leaving myself with 2 U's. So I decided there's no way I'm playing Azo. I'm just going to do this for 34. And this is probably a good play for spread. It probably gives back a little bit more winning chances than the play of Cowrie. Um, just because Azure opens a triple and Carry does not. And so basically it provides long-term access to the top left of the board potentially, whereas Carry it's a lot more difficult. You can maybe play a bingo through the C, but it's not super likely. Actually, one of the things that lots of players overestimate is the possibility of making words ending in IC. There are very few of these words. They're not very likely. Putting a C in this position is really not dangerous. Anyways, but I play Azure and give Ed a spot to play Walla. And here I'm able to unload some stuff and score well with Gecko, but I am still keeping that U. And Ed plays GAM and I draw fantastically here. So in this position, I spotted Centuple for 74, and I spotted Penults for 71. I was like, okay, great. So even before he played GAM, I knew that I was just going to bingo no matter what, because it's just impossible to block both those spots at once unless you have some crazy word ending in OE, like CHIGOE, which is probably not even possible. Oh, it is possible. But then I would just have probably a bingo through C. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyways, it's not gonna happen. Because centuple ends here and data starts here, it's just not happening. So I was like, okay, great. And that, like, I think that I guess leeway or whatever you want to call it, just it probably emboldened me a lot, because in this position, despite some doubts, I decided to play centuple, but not centuple. I designated the blank as a Y. And my thinking here was, this is a lot less dangerous putting a Y here. It's a lot harder to score on top of here, whereas if it's an E, it's just I'm providing easy access to scoring plays, bingo plays that reopen the board. I was like, okay, well, it's obviously a lot better for my winning chances if I make the blank a Y. And although I doubted the validity of the word, I came around to just like being very confident. And I was like, okay, well, worst case scenario, this isn't a word he happens to challenge, and I'll just bingo next turn, and I'm ahead by 130 anyway, so whatever. But I should have known that this wasn't valid and that he would challenge if he had any doubt, which is exactly what happened. I thought there was a good chance that he would not even notice that I designated the blank as a Y. So sometimes when there is a clear blank designation, somebody will just not even look at the blank designation slip that you're provided with to designate your blanks in a tournament game, so that there's no confusion. But sometimes when it's just really obvious, people will just be like, okay, this is an E. So that thought process that I had of like, oh, he's probably just going to think it's an E, that should have given me pause, because if he thinks that, then clearly centuply or centuply, or however this would be pronounced, because it's not a word, would, yeah, just probably not be a word. Like, if I'm thinking that in his shoes he's going to assume it's an E, then like, what am I doing? I'm phony. That's what I'm doing. I shouldn't phony. And he indeed looked at the blank slip. He's like, oh, hold, and ended up challenging. And I lost my turn for absolutely no reason. Just totally stupid. But of course, I could afford this because I was ahead by 130. But trying to get spread, like trying to win a game by as much as possible, terrible idea to just like play a word you're not 100% sure of. And I could actually even still lose this game. It's very, very unlikely because I'm going to bingo next turn. But anyways, Ed plays Youths, and now I play Centuple. I mean, there's nothing he could have done. He plays Pice, tries to open a triple. He's trying to win. Luckily, I drew extremely nicely. Just a very balanced rack that I could use for defense, I can use for scoring. So I played Ixtal, he played Pili, and here I found this very cute play of duh in between the INT and the SDE, and I'm up 200 points. Ed plays a G, leaves 4 in the bag, and in this position, I do what makes the most sense. I want to block this E, but I also want to block this lane. So I decided I would do both and not empty the bag and play Verb. Now there are ways to score a bit more here, but all of those ways will leave a lot more action possible. So I decided I would be as defensive as possible because there are some really nice letters here. And of course, this doesn't block everything. If I play Verb, there's still a lot of things that can fit here, like Lardunes, Ladrones. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still fits. But I thought this did a pretty good job of blocking as much as I could while not emptying the bag. So I do that, and Ed gives up. He has the Y, he plays Soy. And in this endgame, I saw that Ed could go out with Ironed, Ironed through the end. And then I also saw, oh, he has Oroide, Oroide through this O. So I can't actually stop him from going out unless I somehow have this miraculous play under here, which I almost have. Like, I have like I'm one letter off, so like Ameer is a word. Which, yeah, anyways. Again, with the same situation as like the centuple position, it's almost impossible that in a position like this you can block both things. So the first thing I saw was, wow, I have this huge spot here. I could play Wiener for 48. This is a funny word because actually when I was a lot younger, I was playing Josh Castellano, another Josh, and he played Wieners, this with an S, and I challenged. I was like, this doesn't look right, but it is. It's just one that weens. So at this point, at least, I knew this was valid, but then I looked at the play and realized that I'm keeping FV, and if Ed just plays Rids next turn for 10 using his R, I will be stuck with the V. And so I did a little bit of calculation, and unfortunately, like, it sucks for Ed. He's just sitting there, like, he has nothing to do but wait. But yeah, it's part of the game to try and maximize the point differential. And I definitely failed earlier in the in the game, so maybe I should have just gone with this. It's also very difficult to like care enough for Ed, for example, if I play Wiener, to be like, oh, he has FV. Maybe he wasn't even tracking at this point. Blocks vids, and yeah, it ends up being 5 points worse to play Wiener versus playing Wien and let him go out. So yeah, getting stuck with tiles is really bad because it's better for me to sacrifice not only 6 points, also 4 points off of my rack, so 10 points raw, just to let Ed go out versus taking the extra points and just getting stuck with the V. So yeah, always look for that sort of trick in the end game. It could save you the game, but it could also just get you a lot of spread. So be careful when you have a V and a C or a Q or whatever. So I play Wien. He goes out with the Oroid. Perfect end game, and I win the game 465 to 277. So this is a nice feel good game, bringing me to 8-2 with a spread of, let's do 180, so 208. It's 188, right? Yeah. So I finally have a little bit of spread. Still a long, long way to go. 8-2 plus 200 is very, very low. I think at 7-2 and at 6-2 and at 8-2, my spread was the lowest of everybody who had that same record. So yeah, definitely I'm not safe, but at least I won the game by something, like some amount of points. So let's show you the final board here. Yeah, it's using one of these new star boards that are finally like somewhat cheap version of a Scrabble board. Like affordable Scrabble boards are usually very, very expensive, like tournament level boards. But these are like, I don't know, something like 100 US, which is a lot for like plastic, which is what it is, but it's at least more affordable than average boards that are like going for like 200 bucks these days, like just special boards that people are making. Anyways, they're kind of an ugly design in my opinion, but I thought I'd mention that if you guys want to buy a Scrabble board, you can definitely check Starboards out and yeah, get your first tournament Scrabble board. So that was game 10. Let's move on to round 11. And round 11 um, is against none other than Ian Weinstein. So Ian Weinstein, top player, has been a top player for a long time. I think he finished second at the Nationals in 2016 after an absolutely insane run. He was like games ahead of the field and just in the end sort of fell behind and ended up coming, I think, in second place or third. Anyways, just a very strong player, and he's known for playing wide open boards. Um, yeah, just not caring about defense, just going straight for the throat. And I was very happy to see this opening rack, but I took a very long time here because the first thing I saw was pongers, and I did not think pongers was likely to be a word. And then I saw sponger, and I said, well, sponger, like, okay, that might be a word, but I don't think it's like the only word in here. Like, I had this feeling that, like, this goes with something else. And I was like, well, pongers, maybe? Like, I don't know. But pongers doesn't seem like a word. So for a very long time, I was just debating in my head, like, am I making all these words up? I hope not. And I ended up opening with sponger, where the actual anagram of sponger is a very tough one. I've struggled with it before, but it is pre-song, which plays for just as many points in a much more defensive position, which I should be way more comfortable with against Ian. So I think it's objectively a better play to play pre-song, and this was a miss on my part. But what is good about playing sponger instead is that, well, if I win this game, I'm likely to win it by more than if I play pre-song, because this is going to lead to a pretty wide open board, and that could allow me maybe to have higher spreads. Not necessarily higher average spreads, but a little bit more variance can go a long way. So a play like sponger, actually, you'll see, ends up uh, totally working out for me, even though I had no right to have made this play. I should have played pre-song. So a mistake leading to him playing Cahouse, which was something. It was a lot of points. But I draw immediately this rack and just throw down half tone for 104 points. And I'm already ahead 180 to 36 after two moves. So I was feeling extremely good at this point. Ian plays Yo. Uh, as you can see, just opening, doesn't care. He's opening this big spot. This here. Yeah, with pretty much any rack you should be able to play up here. But I had one of the racks where actually I'm not playing up there because I have bingos elsewhere. So if I wanted to try and like maybe limit crazy ways of losing, I could have played engraved, which I think was the first thing I saw. Uh, this is not by any means a defensive play. Opens a double double through the A. There's already a double double through an O possible, but this one sort of feels like it'll stay on the board longer because of the V protecting it. Overlaps are not going to happen. So engraved, yeah, opens the right side of the board as well. It's not really at all defensive play, but the play I made averaged is even less so. I mean, you're opening huge potential here. Is there a way to play ZA? For some reason, I can't see a four-letter word that would work with that. But in any case, with the K, with the P, M, F, like you can score 50, 60 points in this spot. And not only that, I'm opening a triple triple. Of course, a D in second position. In terms of triple triples, it's pretty hard to play through that. But yeah, I decided to take the 11 extra points. And Ian Bingos with Turmoil. And you might see a trend in this game. So far, Ian has drawn 0 E's, and I'm on my 4th E. And yeah, just spoilers. Iron only draws, I think, one E this game, and it's like people talk about, okay, if you don't get any blanks, it's hard to win, but if you don't get any E's, there are maybe 2 games ever recorded where someone who didn't draw any E's actually won, and one of those games is actually me. I somehow won a game, but I had both blanks. So, anyways, it's yeah, it's almost impossible to win a game when you draw one E. So I play Pain. I spent a long time here looking for bingos, and yeah, what am I? I'm okay at finding like good moves strategically on open boards. My struggle is very much in my time management and missing uh, a lot of 8 letter words. Because I mean, look at all these potential 8 letter word lanes. Like these are what we call floaters, um, where you can just play 8 letter words using these. And I mean, there's more. Like all of these are possible. Even this E is possible. Um, so having to try and look through every single one of these letters to make sure I'm not missing something every turn, it does not come to me very naturally. And it takes a long time. I've gotten better at not missing stuff, but I will still definitely, on occasion, miss 8 letter words. And that is why you might hear sometimes, like for example, Jackson Smiley saying, "Oh, I don't know. I think I prefer an open board against Josh," or whatever, like stylistic things, which sound kind of weird because I mean you're just trying to make the right play, right? But actually, if you bring someone into an uncomfortable position um, on a board they're not like very good at dealing with, then yeah, it can be very, very, very useful. Anyways, I play Pain after not seeing a bingo. There are no bingos in this position, and what's interesting is this is the first turn where I have a DE on my rack. And I was very aware that there was a very nice spot for this DE. So this is turn 2. I have Cyanide on my rack, and there's nowhere to put it. And again, I spent an eternity here looking for 8 letter words because, especially with Ys, I'm extremely slow and bad at finding words. So I took a very long time here. Couldn't find anything. Again, there is nothing. And I decided to play Yin, which again, even though I'm keeping the DE, is the best play. And what am I talking about? Well, I'll just show you. He plays Pylaw, I play Jog, and he makes this really nice play of Parquet. And here's his only E that he drew this game. So I have the DE again. The E and the D go right here for Turmoil. And I was fairly confident that this was a word. It's funny because I asked a lot of expert players after this game if they thought turmoiled was a word. Some I asked before checking it, and others I asked after verifying that it was indeed valid. None of the experts that I talked to, like I think I talked to Mac Meller, I talked to Will Anderson, I talked to Rafi Stern. I think they're all like, no, that's not a word, turmoiled, but it is. So I felt pretty good about that. But it's crazy that every single turn I had the E and the D, Turmoiled was not the best play. It's close to the best play in this position with the Yin, and it's not really close to the best play here because playing Jog, I draw so many more bingos. And here it's not really because I have this 98-point Adamance play to take 228-point lead. And you can see 25 tiles in the back. I already have 463 points. So this game was quite ridiculous. Iron plays Stub. And again, I have Turmoiled. And again, it's a decent play, but not good enough because I have these huge plays through the A. So I could play Taxied, or what I chose, Axite, because I thought that that would lead to more bingos, keeping the DER combination. Especially with a lot of vowels unseen, I would rather keep 2 consonants and a vowel than just 1 vowel, 1 consonant. So Axite definitely better than Taxied for 6 more points. And here Iron plays Quaff. It's just going terribly for him. And I breached the 600 mark with the play of Bread Nut for 86. And I'm just like sitting there like, what is going on? It's like the luckiest game I've ever had. And Iron responds with Za, so scoring some points, getting up to 359. And in this position, obviously, the game has been over for most of the game, so this might bore some of you. But again, trying to find the most accurate play here, and I noticed that Ian could have idealized to this E, and he probably had another I when he played Quaff, so he might even be slightly likelier than average to have it. And so I decided that I should probably block that. But he also has Turmoiled, and I wondered to myself if he would try that, or if he would see it or play it. But no wonder, or no, whatever. Just I decided to just get rid of all the worries here and play Siege. And I have a spot for Siege for 27, I think. Yeah. But it's a lot better to play it here just to block the only bingo threat in the position, which does happen to be Idealize, and blocks Turmoiled. And the KO is that, of course, pun intended, here Ian plays Alias, and I am able to play Amok, which is what I kept with Siege. I told myself this is 35 points. It's kind of hard to block in like an effective way in an endgame, because you want to be playing more tiles and going out before your opponent. So that's why Alias was played by Ian. But it's also very hard to see if you don't have the O and the K. Even if you do have the O and the K, this is kind of a weird like find. But yeah, I saw it, and brings me to 663. Ian, of course, having no E's at all. I drew the E's out of the bag after Siege. He just left the 2 E's in the bag. Goes out with Vid, and I win the game 663 to 400. So Ian with 1 E, because this was such an open board and because he's such a good player, he managed to score 400 points with no blanks and 1 E. Really incredible stuff. Like, extremely, like, of course, he lost by 263, but like with what he had, like he did really, really well. Me too. 663. I think that looked like my highest ever score in a tournament. I think this was like, it's not actually that high in terms of like highest score. People have scored in the 700s before. It happens from time to time, but in tournaments I've never really scored this much that often at all. I think this is the luckiest game I've ever had in a tournament. I'm glad I'm sharing it with you guys. 663 to 400. Yeah, what else to say? Like, this mistake, I would have played pre-song for sure if I'd seen it. I know that that's a word. It's just so hard to see. But it just ended up being incredible. Like, just bingo, bingo. Like, open with 3 bingos, then Adamants, and then Bread Nut, and then Axite, and then it's just crazy. So, yeah, that was that game, bringing me to a nice record of this was round 11. Yeah, so 9-2 plus 471. So I was feeling better. I was feeling like, okay, I have okay spread now. I actually can contend with the people in first place. So that's that. That's the round 11 game. The round 12 game, and let me show you guys the final board so you know I'm not making any of this up. That's the previous one. There you go. Ridiculous. 663 to 400. Yeah, round 12 game. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to format it because it was live streamed. It was my first live streamed game of the tournament, of the championship. So I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with that yet. I might just do the same thing and post the game separately, just like I posted the championship games. Or I might like do some like commentary with maybe I'll put like the stream where my face is here and like do some extra commentary. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'll probably do the least complicated thing. We'll see. You know me. So, hope you enjoyed. Yeah, these 2 games were totally ridiculous. They're very feel good, and it was extremely lucky that after some hard fought wins prior to this, I was able to have such an easy 2 games, just basically able to breathe. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye now.